Chapter 21. And looking up, he saw the rich putting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw a certain poor widow putting in 2 mites. And he said, Truly I say to you that this poor widow has put in more than all. For all these out of their excess have put in offerings for Elohim. But she out of her poverty has put in all that she had to live on. And as some were speaking about the set-apart place, that it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, he said, These that you see, the days are coming in which not one stone shall be left upon another that shall not be thrown down. And they asked him, saying, Teacher, but when shall this be? And what is the sign when this is about to take place? And he said, See that you are not led astray, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am, and the time is near. Then do not go after them. But when you hear of fightings and unrests, do not be alarmed, for these have to take place first, but the end is not immediately. Then he said to them, Nation shall rise against nation, and reign against reign. And there shall be great earthquakes in various places, and scarcities of food, and deadly diseases. And there shall be horrors and great signs from heaven. But before all this, they shall lay their hands on you, and persecute you, delivering you up to the congregations and prisons, being brought before sovereigns and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn out to you for a witness. Therefore, resolve in your hearts not to premeditate on what to answer. For I shall give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to refute or resist. And you shall also be betrayed by parents, and brothers, and relatives, and friends. And some of you shall be put to death. And you shall be hated by all because of my name. But not a hair of your head shall be lost at all. Possess your lives by your endurance. And when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that its laying waste is near. Then let those in Yehuda flee to the mountains, and let those who are in the midst of her go out. And let not those who are in the fields enter her, because these are the days of vengeance, to fill all that has been written. And woe to those who are pregnant, and to those who are nursing children in those days, for there shall be great distress in the earth, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trampled underfoot by the nations, until the times of the nations are filled. And there shall be signs in the sun and moon, and stars, and on the earth, anxiety of nations, in bewilderment at the roaring of the sea and agitation, men fainting from fear, and the expectation of what is coming on the earth. For the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then they shall see the Son of Adam coming in a cloud with power and much esteem. And when these matters begin to take place, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near. And he spoke a parable to them. Look at the fig tree and all the trees. When they have already budded, observing it, you shall know for yourself that summer is now near. So you also, when you see these matters take place, know that the reign of Elohim is near. Truly I say to you, this generation shall by no means pass away, till all shall have taken place. The heaven and the earth shall pass away, but my words shall by no means pass away. And take heed to yourselves, lest your hearts be weighed down by gluttony and drunkenness, and worries of this life, and that day come on you suddenly. For it shall come as a snare on all those dwelling on the face of all the earth. Watch then at all times, and pray that you be counted worthy to escape all this about to take place, and to stand before the Son of Adam. And he was teaching in the set-apart place by day, but at night he went out and stayed on the mountain of Olives. And early in the morning all the people came to him in the set-apart place to hear him. Chapter 22. And the festival of Matzot drew near, which is called Pesach, and the chief priests and the scribes were seeking how to kill him, for they feared the people. And Satan entered into Yehuda, who was called Man from Kiriath, who was numbered among the 12. And he went and spoke with the chief priests and captains, how he might deliver him up to them. And they were glad and agreed to give him silver. And he promised and was seeking an occasion to deliver him up to them away from the crowd. And the day of unleavened bread came when the Pesach had to be slaughtered. And he sent Kepha and Yochanan, saying, "Go and prepare the Pesach for us to go eat." And they said to him, "Where do you wish us to prepare?" And he said to them, "See, as you enter into the city, a man shall meet you carrying a jar of water. Follow him into the house he enters. And you shall say to the master of the house, 'The teacher says to you, where is the guest room where I might eat the Pesach with my taught ones?' And he shall show you a large, furnished upper room. Prepare it there." And going, they found it as he had said to them, and they prepared the Pesach. And when the hour had come, he sat down, and the 12 emissaries with him. And he said to them, "With desire I have desired to eat this Pesach with you before my suffering. For I say to you, I shall certainly not eat of it again until it is filled in the reign of Elohim." And taking the cup, giving thanks, he said, "Take this and divide it among yourselves. For I say to you, I shall certainly not drink of the fruit of the vine until the reign of Elohim comes." And taking bread, giving thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." Likewise the cup also after supper, saying, "This cup is the renewed covenant in my blood, which is shed for you. But see, the hand of him delivering me up is with me on the table. For indeed the Son of Adam goes as it has been decreed. But woe to that man by whom he is delivered up." And they began to ask among themselves which of them it could be who was about to do this. And there also took place a dispute among them as to which of them seemed to be greater. And he said to them, "The sovereigns of the nations rule over them, and those who control them are called workers of good. But not so with you. Let him who is greatest among you be as the youngest, and the leader as one who serves. For who is greater, the one who sits at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who sits at the table? But I am in your midst as the one who serves. But you are those who have remained with me in my trials. And I covenant for you, as my Father covenanted for me a reign, to eat and drink at my table in my reign and to sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel." And the master said, "Shimon, Shimon, see, Satan has asked for you to sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for you, that your belief should not fail. And when you have turned, strengthen your brothers." And he said to him, "Master, I am prepared to go with you both to prison and to death." And he said, "I say to you, Kepha, the cock shall not crow at all today until you have denied 3 times that you know me." And he said to them, "When I sent you without purse and bag and sandals, did you lack any?" And they said, "None at all." And he said to them, "But now let him who has a purse take it, likewise also a bag. And let him who has no sword sell his garment and buy one. For I say to you that what has been written has yet to be accomplished in me." And he was reckoned with lawless ones. For that which refers to me has an end too. And they said, "Master, look, here are 2 swords. But he said to them, "That is enough." And coming out, he went to the Mount of Olives, according to usage, and his taught ones also followed him. And coming to the place, he said to them, "Pray that you do not enter into trial." And he withdrew from them about a stone's throw, and falling on his knees, he was praying, saying, "Father, if it be your counsel, remove this cup from me. Yet not my desire, but let yours be done." And there appeared a messenger from heaven to him, strengthening him. And being in agony, he was praying more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. And rising up from prayer, and coming to his taught ones, he found them sleeping from grief. And he said to them, "Why do you sleep? Rise and pray, lest you enter into trial." And while he was still speaking, see, a crowd, and he who was called Yehuda, one of the 12, was going before them and came near to Yeshua to kiss him. And Yeshua said to him, "Yehuda, Do you deliver up the son of Adam with a kiss?" And those around him, seeing what was about to take place, said to him, "Master, shall we strike with the sword?" And one of them struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. But Yeshua answering said, "Allow it this far." And touching his ear, he healed him. And Yeshua said to those who have come against him, the chief priests and captains of the set-apart place and the elders, "Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs? While I was with you daily in the set-apart place, you did not lay hands on me. But this is your hour and the authority of darkness." And having seized him, they led him and brought him to the house of the high priest. And Kepha was following at a distance. And when they had lit a fire in the midst of the courtyard and sat down together, Kepha sat among them. And a certain servant girl, seeing him, said, as he sat by the fire, looked intently at him and said, "And this one was with him?" But he denied him, saying, "Woman, I do not know him." And after a little while another saw him and said, "You are one of them too." But Kepha said, "Man, I am not." And about an hour later another insisted, saying, "Truly this one was with him too, for he is a Galilean too." But Kepha said, "Man, I do not know what you are saying." And immediately, while he was still speaking, a cock crowed. And the master turned and looked at Kepha. And Kepha remembered the word of the master, how he had said to him, "Before a cock crows, you shall deny me 3 times." And Kepha went out and wept bitterly. And the men who were holding Yeshua were mocking him, beating him, and having blindfolded him, they were striking him on the face, and were asking him, saying, "Prophesy, who is it that struck you?" And they said to him much more, blaspheming. And when it became day, the elders of the people, both chief priests and scribes, came together, and they led him into their council, saying, "If you are the Messiah, say it to us." And he said to them, "If I say to you, you would not believe it at all. And if I asked you, you would not answer me at all. From now on, the Son of Adam shall sit on the right hand of the power of Elohim." And they all said, "Are you then the Son of Elohim?" And he said to them, "You say that I am." And they said, "Why do we need further witness? For we heard it ourselves from his mouth." Chapter 23. And the entire assembly of them, having risen up, led him to Pilate, and began to accuse him, saying, "We found this one perverting the nation and forbidding to pay taxes to Caesar, saying that he himself is Messiah, a sovereign." And Pilate asked him, saying, "Are you the sovereign of the Yahudim?" And answering him, he said, "You say it." And Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowd, "I find no guilt in this man." But they were insisting, saying, "He stirs up the people, teaching through all Yehuda, beginning from Galilee unto this place." And when Pilate heard of Galilee, he asked if the man were a Galilean. And when he learned that he was under the authority of Herodes, he sent him to Herodes, who was also in Jerusalem in those days. And seeing Yeshua, Herodes rejoiced greatly. For a long time he had wished to see him, because he had heard much about him, and was anticipating to see some miracle done by him, and was questioning him with many words. But he gave him no answer. And the chief priests and the scribes stood accusing him intensely. And Herodes with his soldiers made light of him, and mocked him, dressing him in a splendid robe, and sent him back to Pilate. And on that day Pilate and Herodes became friends with each other, for before that they had been at enmity with each other. And Pilate, having called together the chief priests and the rulers and the people, said to them, "You brought this man to me as one who turns away the people. And look, I have examined him in your presence, and have found no guilt in this man regarding the charges which you make against him. And neither did Herodes, for I sent you back to him. And look, he has done none at all deserving death. Having disciplined him then, I shall release him." For he had to release one to them at the festival. And they cried out all together, saying, "Away with this one, and release to us Barabbas," who had been thrown into prison for a certain uprising made in the city, and for murder. wishing to release Yeshua. Then Pilate appealed to them again, but they were calling out, saying, "Impale! Impale him!" And he said to them the third time, "Why? What evil has he done? I have found no reason for death in him. Having disciplined him then, I shall release him." But with loud voices they insisted, asking for him to be impaled. And the voices of these men and of the chief priests were prevailing. And Pilate pronounced sentence that what they asked should be done. And he released the one they asked for, who for uprising and murder had been thrown into prison. But he handed Yeshua over to their wishes. And as they led him away, they laid hold of a certain man, Shimon, a Cyrenian, who was coming from the field, and they put the stake on him to bear it behind Yeshua. And a great number of the people were following him, and women, who also were mourning and lamenting him. But Yeshua, turning to them, said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For look, days are coming in which they shall say, 'Blessed are the barren, and wombs that never bore, and breasts which never nurse.' Then they shall begin to say to the mountains, 'Fall on us,' and to the hills, 'Cover us.' Because if they do this to the green tree, what is going to be done to the dry tree?" And 2 others also, evildoers, were led with him to be put to death. And when they had come to the place called Golgotha, they impaled him there, and the evildoers, one on the right and the other on the left. And Yeshua said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." And they divided his garments and cast lots. And the people were standing looking on, and the rulers also were sneering with them, saying, "He saved others, let him save himself, if he is the Messiah, the chosen of Elohim." And the soldiers were mocking him too, coming and offering him sour wine, and saying, "If you are the sovereign of the Yahudim, save yourself." And there was also an inscription written over him in letters of Greek and Roman and Hebrew, "This is the sovereign of the Yahudim." And one of the evildoers who were hanged was speaking evil of him, saying, "If you are the Messiah, save yourself and us." But the other, responding, rebuked him, saying, "Do you not even fear Elohim, since you are under the same judgment? And we, indeed, rightly so, for we received the due reward of our deeds. But this one has done no wrong." And he said to Yeshua, "Master, remember me when you come into your reign." And Yeshua said to him, "Truly I say to you, today you shall be with me in paradise." And it was now about the 6th hour, and darkness came over all the land until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the dwelling place was torn in two. And crying out with a loud voice, Yeshua said, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And having said this, he breathed his last. And the captain, seeing what took place, praised Elohim, saying, "Truly this man was righteous." And when all the crowds who had gathered to that sight saw what took place, they beat their breasts and went away. And all those who knew him, and the woman who followed him from Galilee, stood at a distance watching this, and see a man named Yosef, a council member, a good and righteous man. He was not agreeing with their counsel indeed, for Romathaim, a city of the Yahudim, who himself was also waiting for the reign of Elohim. He, going to Pilate, asked for the body of Yeshua, and taking it down, he wrapped it in linen, and laid it in a tomb hewn out of the rock, where no one was yet laid. And it was preparation day, and the Sabbath was approaching, and the women who had come with him from Galilee followed after, and saw the tomb, and how his body was laid. And having returned, they prepared spices and perfumes, and they rested on the Sabbath, according to the command. Chapter 24. But on day 1 of the week, at early dawn, they came to the tomb, bringing the spices which they had prepared. And they found the stone rolled away from the tomb. And having entered, they did not find the body of the Master Yeshua. And it came to be, as they were perplexed about this, that see, 2 men stood by them in glittering garments. And being frightened and bowing their faces to the earth, these said to them, Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, but has been raised up. Remember how he spoke to you when he was still in Galilee, saying the Son of Adam has to be delivered into the hands of sinners, and be impaled, and the 3rd day rise again. And they remembered his words. And having returned from the tomb, they reported all this to the 11 and to all the rest. And it was Miriam from Magdala, and Johanna, and Miriam the mother of Jacob, and the rest with them who told this to the emissaries. And their words appeared to them to be nonsense, and they did not believe them. But Kepha arose and ran to the tomb, and stooping down, he saw the linen wrappings lying by themselves, and he went away home, marveling at what took place. And see, 2 of them were going that same day to a village called Amos, which was 60 stadia from Jerusalem. And they were talking to each other of all this which had taken place. And it came to be, as they were talking and reasoning, that Yeshua himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were restrained so that they did not know him. And he said to them, What are these words you are exchanging with each other as you were walking? And you are sad. And the one whose name was Cleophas, answering, said to him, Are you the lone visitor in Jerusalem, who does not know what took place in these days? And he said to them, What? And they said to him, Concerning Yeshua of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed, and word before Elohim and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death and impaled him. We, however, were expecting that he was he who was going to redeem Israel. But besides all this, today is the 3rd day since these matters took place. But certain women of ours who arrived at the tomb early also astonished us. When they did not find his body, they came saying that they had also seen a vision of messengers who said he was alive. And some of those with us went to the tomb and found it, as also the women had said, but they did not see him. And he said to them, O thoughtless ones and slow of heart to believe in all that the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary for the Messiah to suffer these and to enter into his esteem? And beginning at Moshe and all the prophets, he was explaining to them in all the scripture the matters concerning himself. And they approached the village where they were going, and he seemed to be going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, Stay with us, for it is toward evening and the day has declined. And he went in to stay with them. And it came to be, when he sat at the table with them, having taken the bread, he blessed, and having broken, he was giving it to them. And their eyes were open, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. And they said to each other, Was not our heart burning within us as he was speaking to us on the way, and as he was opening the scripture to us? And rising up that same hour, they returned to Jerusalem, and found the 11 and those who were with them gathered together, saying, The Master was truly raised and has appeared to Shimon. And they related what took place on the way, and how he was recognized by them in the breaking of the bread. And as they were saying this, Yeshua himself stood in the midst of them and said to them, Peace to you. And being startled and frightened, they thought they had seen a spirit. And he said to them, Why are you troubled? And why do doubts arise in your hearts? See my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me, and see, for a spirit does not have flesh and bones as you see I have. And saying this, he showed them his hands and his feet. And while they were still not believing for joy and marveling, he said to them, Have you any food here? And they gave him a piece of broiled fish and some honeycomb. And taking it, he ate in their presence. And he said to them, These are the words which I spoke to you while I was still with you, that all have to be filled that were written in the Torah of Moshe and the prophets and the Techalim concerning me. Then he opened their minds to understand the scriptures, and said to them, Thus it has been written, and so it was necessary for the Messiah to suffer and to rise again from the dead the 3rd day, that the repentance and forgiveness of sins should be proclaimed in his name to all nations, beginning at Jerusalem. And you are witnesses of these matters. And see, I am sending the promise of my Father upon you, but you are to remain in the city of Jerusalem until you are clothed with power from on high. And he led them out as far as Bethaniah, and lifting up his hands he blessed them. And it came to be, while he was blessing them, that he was parted from them, and was taken up into the heaven. And they, having bowed down to him, returned to Jerusalem with great joy, and were continually in the set-apart place, praising and blessing Elohim. Amen. The Book of John, Yochanan, narrated by Nathan Reynolds. Chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. He was in the beginning with Elohim. All came to be through him, and without him not even one came to be that came to be. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from Elohim, whose name was Yochanan. This one came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all might believe through him. He was not that light, but that he might bear witness of that light. He was the true light which enlightens every man coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came to be through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the authority to become children of Elohim, to those believing in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the desire of the flesh, nor of the desire of man, but of Elohim. And the Word became flesh and pitched his tent among us, and we saw his esteem as of an only brought forth of a father, complete in favor and truth. Yochanan bore witness of him, and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me has become before me, because he was before me. And out of his completeness we all did receive, and favor upon favor. For the Torah was given through Moshe. The favor and the truth came through Yeshua Messiah. No one has ever seen Elohim, the only brought forth Son, who is in the bosom of the Father. He did declare. Now this was the witness of Yochanan. When the Yahudim sent from Jerusalem priests and Levites to ask him, Who are you? And he confessed and did not deny, but confessed, I am not the Messiah. And they asked him, What then? Are you Eliyahu? So he said, I am not. Are you the prophet? And he answered, No. Therefore they said to him, Who are you? So that we give an answer to those who sent us. What do you say about yourself? He said, I am a voice of one crying in the wilderness, Make straight the way of Yahuwah, as the prophet Yeshayahu said. And those sent were of the Pharisees. And they asked him, saying, Why then do you immerse if you are not the Messiah, nor Eliyahu, nor the prophet? Yochanan answered them, saying, I immerse in water, but in your midst stands one whom you do not know, the one coming after me, who has become before me, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to loosen. This took place in Bethania, beyond the Yarden, where Yochanan was immersing. On the next day, Yochanan saw Yeshua coming toward him and said, See, the Lamb of Elohim who takes away the sin of the world. This is he of whom I have said, After me comes a man who has become before me, for he was before me, and I did not know him. but that he might be revealed to Israel. Therefore I came immersing in water. And Yochanan bore witness, saying, I have seen the Spirit coming down from heaven like a dove and remain on him. And I did not know him. But he who sent me to immerse in water said to me, Upon whom you see the Spirit coming down and remaining on him, this is he who immerses in the set-apart Spirit. And I have seen and have witnessed that this is the Son of Elohim. Again the following day, Yochanan was standing with two of his taught ones. And looking at Yeshua walking, he said, See the Lamb of Elohim! And the two taught ones heard him speaking, and they followed Yeshua. And Yeshua, turning and seeing them following, said to them, What do you seek? And they said to him, Rabbi, which means teacher, where are you staying? And he said to them, Come and see. They went and saw where he was staying and remained with him that day. Now it was about the 10th hour. Andri, the brother of Shimon Kepha, was one of the two who heard from Yochanan and followed him. First he found his own brother Shimon and said to him, We have found the Messiah, which means the anointed. And he brought him to Yeshua, and looking at him, Yeshua said, You are Shimon, the son of Yonah. You shall be called Kepha, which means a stone. On the following day, Yeshua wished to go to Galilee, and he found Philip and said to him, Follow me. And Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andri and Kepha. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, We have found him whom Moshe wrote of in the Torah and in the prophets, Yeshua of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. And Nathanael said to him, Is it possible for any good matter to come out of Nazareth? Philip said to him, Come and see. Yeshua saw Nathanael coming toward him and said of him, See, truly a Yisraeli, in whom is no deceit. Nathanael said to him, From where do you know me? Yeshua answered and said to him, Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. Nathanael answered and said to him, Rabbi, you are the son of Elohim. You are the sovereign of Israel. Yeshua answered and said to him, Because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? Greater than that you shall see. And he said to him, Truly, truly, I say to you, from now on you shall see the heaven opened, and the messengers of Elohim ascending and descending upon the Son of Adam. Chapter 2. And on the third day there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Yeshua was there. And both Yeshua and his taught ones were invited to the wedding. When they were short of wine, the mother of Yeshua said to him, They have no wine. And Yeshua said to her, Woman, what is that to me and to you? My hour has not yet come. His mother said to the servants, Do whatever he says to you. And there were 6 stone water jugs standing there, according to the mode of cleansing of the Yahudim, each holding 2 or 3 measures. Yeshua said to them, Fill the water jugs with water. And they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, Now draw out and take it to the master of the feast. So they took it. But when the master of the feast had tasted the water that had become wine and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the master of the feast called the bridegroom and said to him, Every man at the beginning sets out the good wine, and when they have drunk, then that which is poorer. You have kept the good wine until now. This, the beginning of the signs Yeshua did in Cana of Galilee, and manifested his esteem, and his taught ones believed in him. After this, he went down to Kepharnaum, he and his mother and his brothers and his taught ones, and there they stayed not many days. And the Pesach of the Yahudim was near, and Yeshua went up to Jerusalem. And he found in the set-apart place those selling oxen and sheep and doves and the money changers sitting. And having made a whip out of cords, he drove them all out of the set-apart place with the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the money changers' coins and overturned the tables. And he said to those selling doves, "Take these away. Do not make the house of my Father a house of merchandise." And his taught ones remembered that it was written, "The ardor for your house has eaten me up." And the Yahudim answered and said to him, "What sign do you show to us, since you are doing these?" Yeshua answered and said to them, "Destroy this dwelling place, and in 3 days I shall raise it." Then the Yahudim said, "It took 46 years to build this dwelling place, and you are going to raise it in 3 days?" But he spoke about the dwelling place of his body. So when he was raised from the dead, his taught ones remembered that he said this to them. And they believed the scripture and the word which Yeshua had said. And when he was in Jerusalem, at the Pesach, at the festival, many believed in his name when they saw the signs which he was doing. But Yeshua was not entrusting himself to them, because he knew all men, and had no need that anyone should witness of man, for he knew what was in man. Chapter 3. And there was a man of the Pharisees, Nicodemus was his name, a ruler of the Yahudim. This one came to Yeshua by night and said to him, "Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher, come from Elohim, for no one is able to do these signs you do, if Elohim is not with him." Yeshua answered and said to him, "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless one is born from above, he is unable to see the reign of Elohim." Nicodemus said to him, "How is a man able to be born when he is old? Is he able to enter into his mother's womb a second time and be born?" Yeshua answered, "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless one is born of water and the Spirit, he is unable to enter into the reign of Elohim. That which has been born of the flesh is flesh, that which has been born of the Spirit is spirit. Do not marvel that I said to you, you have to be born from above. The wind blows where it wishes, and you hear the sound of it, but do not know where it comes from and where it goes. So is everyone who has been born of the Spirit." Nicodemus answered and said to him, "How is it possible for this to take place?" Yeshua answered and said to him, "Are you the teacher of Israel and do not know this? Truly, truly, I say to you, we speak what we know and witness what we have seen, and you do not receive our witness. If you do not believe when I spoke to you about earthly matters, how are you going to believe when I speak to you about the heavenly matters? And no one has gone up into the heavens except he who came down from the heaven, the Son of Adam. And as Moshe lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so the Son of Adam has to be lifted up, so that whoever is believing in him should not perish, but possess everlasting life. For Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only brought forth Son, so that everyone who believes in him should not perish, but possess everlasting life. For Elohim did not send his Son into the world to judge the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He who believes in him is not judged, but he who does not believe is judged already, because he has not believed in the name of the only brought forth Son of Elohim. And this is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and men love the darkness rather than the light, for their works were wicked. For everyone who is practicing evil matters hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his works should be exposed. But the one doing the truth comes to the light, so that his works are clearly seen that they have been wrought in Elohim. After this, Yeshua and his taught ones came into the land of Yehuda, and he remained there with them, and was immersing. And Yochanan was also immersing in Ayin, near Salim, because there was plenty of water there, and they were coming and were being immersed, for Yochanan had not yet been put into prison. Then a dispute arose between some of Yochanan's taught ones and the Yahudim about cleansing. And they came to Yochanan and said to him, Rabbi, he who is with you beyond the Yarden, to whom you have witnessed, see, he is immersing, and all are coming to him. Yochanan answered and said, No man is able to receive any matter unless it is given to him from the heaven. You yourselves are witnesses for me that I said, I am not the Messiah, but I am sent ahead of him. He that has the bride is the bridegroom. But the friend of the bridegroom who stands and hears him rejoices greatly because of the voice of the bridegroom. So this joy of mine is complete. It is right for him to increase, but me to decrease. He who comes from above is over all. He who is from the earth is of the earth, and speaks of the earth. He who comes from the heaven is over all. And what he has seen and heard, that he witnesses. And no one receives his witness. He who receives his witness has set his seal that Elohim is true. For he whom Elohim has sent speaks the words of Elohim. For Elohim does not give the Spirit by measure. The Father loves the Son and has given all into his hand. He who believes in the Son possesses everlasting life, but he who does not obey the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of Elohim remains on him. Chapter 4. So when the master knew that the Pharisees had heard that Yeshua made and immersed more taught ones than Yochanan, although Yeshua himself did not immerse but his taught ones, he left Yehuda and went away again to Galilee. And he had to pass through Shamaron. So he came to a city of Shamaron called Shechem, near the piece of land Yaakov gave to his son Yosef. And Yaakov's fountain was there. So Yeshua, being wearied from the journey, was sitting thus at the fountain. It was about the 6th hour. A woman of Shamaron came to draw water. Yeshua said to her, Give me to drink. For his taught ones had gone off into the city to buy food. The woman of Shamaron therefore said to him, How is it that you, being a Yahudi, ask a drink from me, a woman of Shamaron? For Yahudim did not associate with Shamaron. And Yeshua answered and said to her, If you knew the gift of Elohim, and who it is who says to you, Give me to drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. The woman said to him, Master, you have no vessel, and the well is deep. From where then do you have living water? Are you greater than our father Yaakov, who gave us the well, and drank from it himself and his sons and his cattle? Yeshua answered and said to her, Everyone drinking of this water shall thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water I give him shall certainly never thirst. And the water that I give him shall become in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life. The woman said to him, Master, give me this water so that I do not thirst, nor come here to draw. Yeshua said to her, Go, call your husband and come here. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Yeshua said to her, You well said, I have no husband. For you have had 5 husbands, and the one whom you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true. The woman said to him, Master, I see that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you people say that in Jerusalem is the place where one needs to worship. Yeshua said to her, Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you shall neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, because the deliverance is of the Yahudim. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father also does seek such to worship him. Elohim is spirit, and those who worship him need to worship in spirit and truth. The woman said to him, I know that Messiah is coming, the one who is called Anointed. When that one comes, he shall announce to us all. Yeshua said to her, I, who am speaking to you, am he. And upon this his taught ones came, and they were marveling that he was speaking with a woman. However, no one said, What do you seek? Or why do you speak with her? The woman then left her water jug and went away to the city and said to the men, Come see a man who told me all that I have done. Is this not the Messiah? They went out of the city and were coming to him. But in the meantime his taught ones were asking him, saying, Rabbi, eat. And he said to them, I have food to eat of which you do not know. Then the taught ones said to each other, Did anyone bring him food to eat? Yeshua said to them, My food is to do the desire of him who sent me, and to accomplish his work. Do you not say, There are still 4 months, and the harvest comes? See, I say to you, lift up your eyes and see the fields, for they are white for harvest already. He who is reaping receives a reward and gathers fruit for everlasting life, so that both he who is sowing and he who is reaping rejoice together. For in this the word is true. One sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap that for which you have not labored. Others have labored, and you have entered into their labors. And many of the Samaria of that city believed in him because of the word of the woman who witnessed, He told me all that I have done. Therefore, when the Samaria came to him, they were asking him to stay with them, and he stayed there 2 days. And many more believed because of his word. And they said to the woman, We no longer believe because of what you said. For we ourselves have heard, and we know that this is truly the Messiah, the Savior of the world. And after the 2 days he left there and went to Galilee. For Yeshua himself witnessed that a prophet is without appreciation in his own country. Therefore, when he came to Galilee, the Galileans received him, having seen all that he had done in Jerusalem at the festival, for they also went to the festival. Then Yeshua came again to Cana of Galilee, where he had made the water wine. And there was a certain nobleman whose son was sick at Capernaum. When he heard that Yeshua had come from Yehuda into Galilee, he went to him and was asking him to come down and heal his son, for he was about to die. Yeshua then said to him, If you people do not see signs and wonders, you do not believe at all. The nobleman said to him, Master, come down before my child dies. Yeshua said to him, Go, your son lives. And the man believed the word that Yeshua spoke to him and went. And while he was going down, his servant met him and reported, saying, Your son lives. He then asked from them the hour in which he became better. And they said to him, Yesterday at the 7th hour the inflammation left him. Then the father knew that it was at the same hour in which Yeshua said to him, Your son lives. And he himself believed, and all his household. Again, this was the second sign Yeshua did when he had come from Yehuda into Galilee. Chapter 5. After this there was a festival of the Yahudim, and Yeshua went up to Jerusalem. And in Jerusalem at the sheep gate there was a pool, which is called in Hebrew Beth-Zatha, having 5 porches. In these were lying a great number of those who were sick, blind, crippled, paralyzed, waiting for the stirring of the water. For a messenger was going down at a certain time into the pool and was stirring the water. Whoever stepped in first then, after the stirring of the water, became well of whatever disease he had. And a certain man was there who had a sickness 38 years. When Yeshua saw him lying there, and knowing that he had already been a long time, he said to him, "Do you wish to become well?" The sick man answered him, "Master, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred, but while I am coming, another steps down before me." Yeshua said to him, "Rise, take up your bed and walk." And immediately the man became well, and he took up his bed and was walking. Now it was Sabbath on that day. The Yahudim therefore said to him who had been healed, "It is the Sabbath. It is not right for you to take up the bed." He answered them, "He who made me well said to me, 'Take up your bed and walk.'" Therefore they asked him, "Who is the man who said to you, 'Take up your bed and walk'?" But the one who was healed did not know who it was, for Yeshua had moved away, a crowd being in that place. Afterward, Yeshua found him in the set-apart place and said to him, "See, you have been made well. Sin no more, so that no worse matter befalls you." The man went away and told the Yahudim that it was Yeshua who made him well. And because of this, the Yahudim persecuted Yeshua and were seeking to kill him, because he was doing these healings on the Sabbath. But Yeshua answered them, "My Father works until now, and I work." Because of this, then, the Yahudim were seeking all the more to kill him, because not only was he breaking the Sabbath, but he also called Elohim his own Father, making himself equal with Elohim. Therefore Yeshua responded and said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, the Son is able to do none at all by himself, but only that which he sees the Father doing, because whatever he does, the Son also likewise does. For the Father loves the Son and shows him all that he himself does, and greater works than these he is going to show him, in order that you marvel. For as the Father raises the dead and makes alive, even so the Son makes alive him whom he wishes. For the Father judges no one, but has given all judgment to the Son, that all should value the Son, even as they value the Father. He who does not value the Son does not value the Father who sent him. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who hears my word and believes in him who sent me possesses everlasting life and does not come into judgment, but has passed from death into life. Truly, truly, I say to you, the hour is coming and now is when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of Elohim, and those having heard shall live. For as the Father possesses life in himself, so he gave also to the Son to possess life in himself. And he has given him authority also to do judgment, because he is the son of Adam. Do not marvel at this, because the hour is coming in which all those in the tomb shall hear his voice, and shall come forth, those who have done good to the resurrection of life, and those who have practiced evil matters to a resurrection of judgment. Of myself I am unable to do any matter. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is righteous, because I do not seek my own desire, but the desire of the Father who sent me. If I bear witness of myself, my witness is not true. There is another who bears witness of me, and I know that the witness which he witnesses of me is true. You have sent to Yochanan, and he bore witness to the truth, but I do not receive witness from man. But I say this in order that you might be saved. He was the burning and shining lamp, and for a while you wished to rejoice in his light. But I have greater witness than that of Yochanan, for the works that the Father gave me to accomplish, the works that I do, bear witness of me that the Father has sent me. And the Father who sent me, he bore witness of me. You have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his form. And you do not have his word staying in you, because you do not believe in him whom he sent. You search the Scriptures because you think you possess everlasting life in them, and these are the ones that bear witness of me. But you do not desire to come to me in order to possess life. I do not receive esteem from men, but I know you, that you do not have the love of Elohim in you. I have come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. If another comes in his own name, him you would receive. How are you able to believe when you are receiving esteem from one another, and the esteem that is from the only Elohim you do not seek? Do not think that I shall accuse you to the Father. There is one who accuses you, Moshe, in whom you have set your expectation. For if you believed Moshe, you would have believed me, since he wrote about me. But if you do not believe his writings, how shall you believe my words? Chapter 6. After this, Yeshua went away to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, that is Lake Kinnereth. And a large crowd was following him because they saw his signs which he did on those who were sick. And Yeshua went up on a mountain, and there he sat down with his taught ones. And the Pesach was near, the festival of the Yahudim. Then Yeshua, lifting up his eyes and seeing a large crowd coming towards him, said to Philip, Where shall we buy bread for them to eat? And this he said, trying him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them, for every one of them to receive a little. One of his taught ones, Andri, the brother of Shimon Kepha, said to him, Here is a boy who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fishes, but what are these for so many? And Yeshua said, Make the people sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, and the men, numbering about 5,000, sat down. And Yeshua took the loaves, and having given thanks, he distributed them to the taught ones, and the taught ones to those sitting down, and the same with the fish, and as much as they wished. And when they were filled, he said to his taught ones, Gather the broken pieces that are left over, so that none gets wasted. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with broken pieces of the 5 barley loaves, which were left over by those who had eaten. Then the men, having seen the sign that Yeshua did, said, This is truly the prophet who is coming to the world. Then Yeshua, knowing that they were about to come and seize him, that they might make him sovereign, withdrew himself again to the mountain, alone by himself. And when evening came, his taught ones went down to the sea. And entering into the boat, they were going over the sea towards Capernaum. And it was already become dark, and Yeshua had not yet come to them. And the sea was rising because a great wind was blowing. When they had rowed about 25 or 30 stadia, they saw Yeshua walking on the sea and coming near the boat, and they were afraid. And he said to them, It is I. Do not be afraid. They wished, therefore, to take him into the boat, and at once the boat was at land, where they were going. On the next day, the crowd that was standing on the other side of the sea saw that there was no other boat there except that one into which his taught ones had entered, and that Yeshua had not entered the boat with his taught ones, but his taught ones went away alone. But other boats came from Kinnereth, near the place where they ate bread after the master had given thanks. Therefore, when the crowd saw that Yeshua was not there, nor his taught ones, they themselves entered into the boats and came to Capernaum, seeking Yeshua. And having found him on the other side of the sea, they asked him, Rabbi, when did you come here? Yeshua answered them and said, Truly, truly, I say to you, you seek me not because you saw signs, but because you ate of the loaves and were satisfied. Do not labor for the food that is perishing, but for the food that is remaining to everlasting life, which the Son of Adam shall give you. For the Father, Elohim, has set his seal on him. So they said to him, What should we do to work the works of Elohim? Yeshua answered and said to him, This is the work of Elohim, that you believe in him whom he sent. So they said to him, What sign then would you do so that we see and believe you? What would you do? Our fathers ate manna in the wilderness, as it's been written, He gave them bread out of the heaven to eat. Therefore Yeshua said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, Moshe did not give you the bread out of the heaven, but my Father gives you the true bread out of heaven. For the bread of Elohim is he who comes down out of the heaven and gives life to the world. So they said to him, Master, give us this bread always. And Yeshua said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall not get hungry at all, and he who believes in me shall not get thirsty at all. But I said to you that you have seen me, and still you do not believe. All that the Father gives me shall come to me, and the one who comes to me I shall by no means cast out. Because I have come down out of the heaven not to do my own desire, but the desire of him who sent me. This is the desire of the Father who sent me, that all he has given me I should not lose of it, but should raise it in the last day. And this is the desire of him who sent me, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him should possess everlasting life. And I shall raise him up in the last day. Therefore the Yahudim were grumbling against him, because he said, I am the bread which came down out of the heaven. And they said, Is not this Yeshua, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he says, I have come down out of the heaven? Then Yeshua answered and said to them, Do not grumble with one another. No one is able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I shall raise him up on the last day. It has been written in the prophets, and they shall all be taught by Yahuwah. Everyone, then, who has heard from the Father and learned, comes to me. Not that anyone has seen the Father, except he who is from Elohim. He has seen the Father. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who believes in me possesses everlasting life. I am the bread of life. Your fathers ate the manna in the wilderness, and they died. This is the bread which comes down out of heaven, so that anyone might eat of it and not die. I am the living bread which came down out of the heaven. If anyone eats of this bread, he shall live forever. And indeed, the bread that I shall give is my flesh, which I shall give for the life of the world. The Yahudim therefore were striving with one another, saying, How is this one able to give us his flesh to eat? Yeshua therefore said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Adam and drink his blood, you possess no life in yourselves. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood possesses everlasting life, and I shall raise him up in the last day. For my flesh is truly food, and my blood is truly drink. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood stays in me, and I in him. As the living Father sent me, and I live because of the Father, so he who feeds on me shall live because of me. This is the bread which came down out of the heaven, not as your fathers ate the manna and died. He who eats this bread shall live forever. He said this in a congregation teaching in Capernaum. Therefore many of his taught ones, having heard, said, This word is hard. Who is able to hear it? But Yeshua, knowing within himself that his taught ones were grumbling about this, said to them, Does this make you stumble? What if you see the Son of Adam going up where he was before? It is the Spirit that gives life. The flesh does not profit at all. The words that I speak to you are spirit and are life. But there are some of you who do not believe. For Yeshua knew from the beginning who they were who did not believe, and who would deliver him up. And he said Because of this, I have said to you that no one is able to come to me unless it has been given to him by my Father." From then on, many of his taught ones withdrew and were not walking with him anymore. Yeshua therefore said to the 12, "Do you also wish to go away?" Then Shimon Kepha answered him, "Master, to whom shall we go? You possess words of everlasting life, and we have believed and we know that you are the Messiah, the Son of the living Elohim." Yeshua answered them, "Have I not chosen you, the 12? And one of you is a devil." He was now speaking of Yehuda from Kiriath, the son of Shimon, for he, one of the 12, was about to deliver him up. Chapter 7. And after this, Yeshua was walking in Galilee, for he did not wish to walk in Yehuda, because the Yahudim were seeking to kill him. And the festival of the Yahudim was near, the festival of Sukkot. So his brothers said to him, "Get away from here and go into Yehuda, so that your taught ones also see the works that you are doing. For no one acts in secret while he himself seeks to be known openly. If you do these works, show yourself to the world." For even his brothers did not believe in him. Yeshua therefore said to them, "My time has not yet come, but your time is always ready. It is impossible for the world to hate you, but it hates me because I bear witness of it, that its works are wicked. You go up to this festival. I am not going up to this festival, for my time has not yet been filled." And having said this to them, he stayed in Galilee. But when his brothers had gone up to the festival, then he also went up, not openly, but as it were in secret. The Yahudim therefore were seeking him at the festival and said, "Where is he?" And there was much grumbling about him among the crowd. Some were saying, "He is good," but others were saying, "No, but he's leading the crowd astray." However, no one spoke openly of him for fear of the Yahudim. And about the middle of the festival, Yeshua went up into the set-apart place, and he was teaching. And the Yahudim were marveling, saying, "How does this man know letters, not having learned?" Yeshua answered them and said, "My teaching is not mine, but his who sent me. If anyone desires to do his desire, he shall know concerning the teaching, whether it is from Elohim, or whether I speak from myself. He who speaks from himself is seeking his own esteem, but he who seeks the esteem of the one who sent him is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. Did not Moshe give you the Torah? Yet not one of you does the Torah. Why do you seek to kill me?" And the crowd answered and said, "You have a demon. Who seeks to kill you?" Yeshua answered and said to them, "I did one work and you all marvel. Because of this Moshe has given you the circumcision, though it is not from Moshe, but from the fathers. And you circumcise a man on the Sabbath. If a man receives circumcision on the Sabbath, so that the Torah of Moshe should not be broken, are you wroth with me because I made a man entirely well on the Sabbath? Do not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment." Therefore some of them from Jerusalem said, "Is this not he whom they are seeking to kill? And see, he speaks boldly, and they say none at all to him. Could it be that the rulers truly know that this is truly the Messiah? But we know where this one is from, and when the Messiah comes, no one knows where he is from." Yeshua therefore cried out in the set-apart place, teaching and saying, "You both know me, and you know where I am from, and I have not come of myself, but he who sent me is true, whom you do not know. But I know him, because I am from him, and he sent me." So they were seeking to seize him, but no one laid a hand on him, because his hour had not yet come. And many of the crowd believed in him, and said, "When the Messiah comes, shall he do more signs than these which this one did?" The Pharisees heard the crowd muttering these matters concerning him, and the Pharisees and the chief priests sent officers to seize him. Therefore Yeshua said to them, "Yet a little while I am with you. Then I go to him who sent me. You shall seek me, and you shall not find me, and where I am, you are unable to come." The Yahudim therefore said to themselves, "Where is he about to go that we shall not find him? Is he about to go to the dispersions among the Greeks and to teach the Greeks? What is this word which he said, 'You shall seek me, and you shall not find me, and where I am, you are unable to come'?" And on the last day, the great day of the festival, Yeshua stood and cried out, saying, "If anyone thirsts, let him come to me, and let him who believes in me drink. As the scripture said, out of his innermost shall flow rivers of living water." And this he said concerning the Spirit, which those believing in him were about to receive. For the set-apart Spirit was not yet given, because Yeshua was not yet esteemed. Many from the crowd, when they heard the word, then said, "This truly is the prophet." Others said, "This is the Messiah." But others said, "Does the Messiah then come out of Galilee? Did not the scripture say that the Messiah comes from the seed of David and from the village of Bethlehem where David was?" So a division came about among the people because of him, and some of them wished to take him, but no one laid hands on him. The officers therefore came to the chief priests and Pharisees, and they said to them, "Why did you not bring him?" And the officers answered, "Never has any man spoken like this man." The Pharisees therefore answered them, "Have you also been led astray? Has any one of the rulers of the Pharisees believed in him? But this crowd that does not know the Torah is accursed." Nicodemus, he who came to Yeshua by night, being one of them, said to them, "Does our Torah judge the man, unless it hears first from him and knows what he is doing?" They answered and said to him, "Are you also from Galilee? Search and see that no prophet has arisen out of Galilee." And each one went to his own house. Chapter 8. And Yeshua went to the Mount of Olives. And at dawn he came again into the set-apart place, and all the people were coming to him. And having sat down, he was teaching them. And the scribes and Pharisees brought to him a woman caught in adultery. And having set her in the midst, they said to him, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. And in the Torah, Moshe commanded us that such should be stoned. What then do you say?" And this they said, trying him, so that they might accuse him. But Yeshua, bending down, wrote on the ground with the finger, as though he did not hear. But as they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "He who is without sin among you, let him be the first to throw a stone at her." And bending down again, he wrote on the ground. And when they heard it, being reproved by their conscience, went out one by one, beginning from the older ones until the last. And Yeshua was left alone, and the woman standing in the middle. And Yeshua, straightening up and seeing no one but the woman, said to her, "Woman, where are those accusers of yours? Did no one condemn you?" And she said, "No one, Master." And Yeshua said to her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." Therefore Yeshua spoke to them again, saying, "I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall by no means walk in darkness, but possess the light of life." The Pharisees therefore said to him, "You bear witness about yourself. Your witness is not true." Yeshua answered and said to them, "Even if I witness concerning myself, my witness is true, for I know where I came from and where I am going, but you do not know from where I come or where I go. You judge according to the flesh. I judge no one. But even if I do judge, my judgment is true, because I am not alone in it, but I and the Father who sent me. And in your Torah also it has been written that the witness of two men is true. I am one who witnesses concerning myself, and the Father who sent me witnesses concerning me. Therefore they said to him, Where's your Father? Yeshua answered, You know neither me nor my Father. If you knew me, you would have known my Father also. These words Yeshua spoke in the treasury, teaching in the set-apart place, and no one laid hands on him because his hour had not yet come. Therefore Yeshua said to them again, I am going away, and you shall seek me, and you shall die in your own sin. Where I go, you are unable to come. Then the Yahudim said, Shall he kill himself because he says, Where I go, you are unable to come? And he said to them, You are from below, I am from above. You are of this world, I am not of this world. Therefore I said to you that you shall die in your sins. For if you do not believe that I am he, you shall die in your sins. Then they said to him, Who are you? And Yeshua said to them, Altogether that which I even say to you. I have much to say and to judge concerning you, but he who sent me is true. And what I heard from him, these words I speak to the world. They did not know that he spoke to them of the Father. So Yeshua said to them, When you lift up the Son of Adam, then you shall know that I am he, and that I do none at all of myself, but as my Father taught me, these words I speak. And he who sent me is with me. The Father has not left me alone, for I always do what pleases him. As he was speaking these words, many believed in him. So Yeshua said to those Yahudim who believed him, If you stay in my word, you are truly my taught ones, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. They answered him, We are the seed of Abraham, and have been servants to no one at any time. How do you say you shall become free? Yeshua answering them, Truly, truly, I say to you, everyone doing sin is a servant of sin, and the servant does not stay in the house forever. A son stays forever. If then the Son makes you free, you shall be free indeed. I know that you are the seed of Abraham, but you seek to kill me because my word has no place in you. I speak what I have seen with my Father, and you do what you have heard from your father. They answered and said to him, Abraham is our father. Yeshua said to them, If you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. But now you seek to kill me, a man who has spoken to you the truth, which I heard from Elohim. Abraham did not do this. You do the works of your father. Then they said to him, We were not born of whoring. We have one Father, Elohim. Yeshua said to them, If Elohim were your father, you would love me, for I came forth from Elohim and am here. For I have not come of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not know what I say? Because you're unable to hear my word. You are of your father the devil, and the desires of your father you wish to do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and he has not stood in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks the lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And because I speak the truth, you do not believe me. Who of you proves me wrong concerning sin? And if I speak the truth, why do you not believe me? He who is of Elohim hears the words of Elohim. Therefore you do not hear, because you are not of Elohim. The Yahudim answered and said to him, Do we not say well that you are a Shamaroni and have a demon? And Yeshua answered, I do not have a demon, but I value my Father, and you do not value me. And I do not seek my own esteem. There is one who is seeking and is judging. Truly, truly, I say to you, if anyone guards my word, he shall never see death at all." The Yahudim said to him, "Now we know that you have a demon. Abraham died and the prophets, and you say, if anyone guards my word, he shall never taste death at all. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who died? And the prophets died? Whom do you make yourself?" Yeshua answered, "If I esteem myself, my esteem is none at all. It is my Father who esteems me, of whom you say that he is your Father. You have not known him, but I know him. And if I say I do not know him, I shall be like you, a liar. But I do know him, and I guard his word. Your father Abraham was glad that he should see my day, and he saw it and did rejoice." The Yahudim therefore said to him, "You are not yet 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham?" Yeshua said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham came to be, I am." Therefore they picked up stones to throw at him. But Yeshua was hidden and went out of the set-apart place, going through the midst of them, and so passed by. Chapter 9. And passing by, he saw a man blind from birth. And his taught ones asked him, saying, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he should be born blind?" Yeshua answered, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned, but that the works of Elohim might be made manifest in him. It is necessary for me to work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming, when no one is able to work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." Having said this, he spat on the ground and made clay with his saliva, and applied the clay to the eyes of the blind man. And he said to him, "Go, wash in the pool of Shiloah," which means sent. So he went and washed and came seeing. Therefore the neighbors and those who saw him before, that he was blind, said, "Is not this he who was sitting and begging?" Others said, "This is he." Others said, "He is like him." And he said, "I am." So they said to him, "How were your eyes opened?" He answered and said, "A man called Yeshua made clay and applied it to my eyes and said to me, 'Go to the pool of Shiloah and wash.' And I went and washed and received sight." And they said to him, "Where is he?" And he said, "I do not know." They brought to the Pharisees the one who was once blind. Now it was a Sabbath day when Yeshua made the clay and opened his eyes. Therefore the Pharisees also asked him again how he had received his sight. He said to them, "He put clay on my eyes, and I washed, and I see." Therefore some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from Elohim, because he does not guard the Sabbath." Others said, "How is a man who is a sinner able to do such miracles?" And there was a division among them. So they said to the blind one again, "What do you say about him, because he opened your eyes?" And he said, "He is a prophet." However, the Yahudim did not believe concerning him that he had been blind and received his sight, till they called the parents of him who had received his sight. And they asked them, saying, "Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How then does he see now?" His parents answered them and said, "We know that this is our son, and that he was born blind. But how now he sees, we don't know, or who opened his eyes, we do not know. He is of age, ask him. He shall speak concerning himself." His parents said this because they were afraid of the Yahudim, for the Yahudim had already agreed that if anyone confessed that he was Messiah, he should be put out of the congregation. Because of this, his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." So for the second time they called the man who was blind and said to him, "Give esteem to Elohim. We know that this man is a sinner." Then he answered and said, "Whether he's a sinner, I do not know. I only know that I was blind. Now I see." And they asked him once more, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered them, "I have told you already, and you did not hear. Why do you wish to hear it again? Do you wish to become his taught ones too?" Then they abused him and said, "You are his taught one, but we are taught ones of Moshe. We know that Elohim has spoken to Moshe, but this one we do not know where he is from." The man answered and said to them, Why, this is a wonder. You do not know where he is from, yet he opened my eyes. And we know that Elohim does not hear sinners, but if anyone fears Elohim and does his desire, he hears him. From of old it has never been heard that anyone opened the eyes of one who was born blind. If this one were not from Elohim, he could not have done this at all. They answered and said to him, "You are born completely in sins, and are you teaching us?" And they cast him out. Yeshua, having heard that they cast him out, and when he found him, he said to him, "Do you believe in the Son of Elohim?" He answered and said, "Who is he, Master, that I might believe in him?" Yeshua said to him, "You have both seen him, and he who speaks with you is he." And he said, "Master, I believe," and bowed before him. And Yeshua said, "For judgment I have come into this world, that those not seeing might see, and those seeing might become blind." And those of the Pharisees who were with him heard these words and said to him, "Are we blind too?" Yeshua said to them, "If you were blind, you would have no sin. But now you say, 'We see.' Therefore your sin remains." Chapter 10. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter through the door into the sheepfold, but climbs up by another way, that one is a thief and a robber. But he who enters through the door is the shepherd of the sheep. The doorkeeper opens for him, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he has brought out his own sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. And they shall by no means follow a stranger, but shall flee from him, because they do not know the voice of strangers. Yeshua used this figure of speech, but they did not know what he had been saying to them. Yeshua therefore said to them again, "Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. Whoever enters through me, he shall be saved, and shall go in and go out and find pasture. The thief does not come except to steal and to slaughter and to destroy. I have come that they might possess life, and that they might possess it beyond measure. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. But the hireling, and not being a shepherd, one who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf snatches the sheep and scatters them. Now the hireling flees because he is a hireling and is not concerned about the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know mine, and mine know me. Even as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have which are not of this fold. I have to bring them as well. And they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one flock, one shepherd. Because of this, the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to receive it again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to receive it again. This command I have received from my Father. Again there came a division among the Yahudim because of these words. And many of them said, "He has a demon and is mad. Why do you listen to him?" Others said, "These are not the words of one possessed by a demon. Is a demon able to open the eyes of the blind?" At that time the Hanukkah came to be in Jerusalem, and it was winter. And Yeshua was walking in the set-apart place in the ports of Shelema. So the Yahudim surrounded him and said to him, "How long do you keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, say to us plainly." Yeshua answered them, "I have told you, and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness concerning me. But you do not believe, because you are not of my sheep. As I said to you, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give them everlasting life, and they shall by no means ever perish, and no one shall snatch them out of my hand. My Father who has given them to me is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one." Again the Yahudim picked up stones to stone him. Yeshua answered them, "Many good works have I shown you from my Father. Because of which of these works do you stone me?" The Yahudim answered him, saying, "We do not stone you for a good work, but for blasphemy, because you, being a man, make yourself Elohim." Yeshua answered them, "Is it not written in your own Torah, 'I said you are Elohim'? If he called them Elohim, to whom the word of Elohim came, and it is impossible for the scripture to be broken, do you say of him whom the Father set apart and sent into the world, 'You are blaspheming, because I said I am the Son of Elohim'? If I do not do the works of my Father, do not believe me. But if I do, though you do not believe me, believe the works, so that you know and believe that the Father is in me, and I in him." Therefore they were seeking again to seize him, but he went forth out of their hand, and went once more to the other side of the Jordan, to the place where Yochanan was immersing at first, and there he stayed. And many came to him and said, "Yochanan indeed did no sign." Yet all that Yochanan said about this man was true, and many believed in him there. Chapter 11. And a certain one was sick, Eleazar from Bethaniah, the village of Miriam and her sister Martha. Now it was Miriam who anointed the master with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Eleazar was sick. Therefore the sister sent to him, saying, "Master, see, he whom you love is sick." But when Yeshua heard, he said, "This sickness is not unto death, but for the esteem of Elohim, so that the Son of Elohim might be esteemed by it." Now Yeshua loved Martha and her sister and Eleazar. Therefore when he heard that he was sick, then indeed he stayed at the place where he was 2 more days. Then after this he said to the taught ones, "Let us go back to Yehuda." And the taught ones said to him, "Rabbi, the Yahudim were but now seeking to stone you, and you are going back there?" Yeshua answered, "Are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble, because he sees the light of this world. But if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles, because the light is not in him." He said this, and after that he said to them, "Our friend Eleazar has fallen asleep, but I am going there to wake him up." Therefore the taught one said to him, "Master, if he has fallen asleep, he shall recover." But Yeshua had spoken about his death, whereas they thought that he spoke of taking rest in sleep. So then Yeshua said to them plainly, "Eleazar has died, and for your sake I am glad that I was not there, in order for you to believe. But let us go to him." Toma, who is called the twin, then said to his fellow taught ones, "Let us also go, so that we die with him." Therefore, when Yeshua arrived, he found that he had already been 4 days in the tomb. Now Bethaniah was near Jerusalem, about 15 stadia away. And many of the Yahudim had come to Martha and Miriam to comfort them concerning their brother. Martha then, when she heard that Yeshua was coming, met him, but Miriam was sitting in the house. Martha then said to Yeshua, "Master, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you might ask of Elohim, Elohim shall give you." Yeshua said to her, "Your brother shall rise again." Martha said to him, "I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day." Yeshua said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he dies, he shall live. And everyone that is living and believing in me shall never die at all. Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Master, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of Elohim, who is coming into the world." And having said this, she went away and called her sister Miriam secretly, saying, "The teacher is here and calls you." When she heard, she rose up quickly and came to him. Yeshua had not yet come into the village, but was in the place where Martha met him. Therefore the Yahudim who were with her in the house and were comforting her, when they saw that Miriam rose up quickly and went out, followed her, saying, "She's going to the tomb to weep there." Miriam, therefore, when she came where Yeshua was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying to him, "Master, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Yeshua, therefore, when he saw her weeping, and the Yahudim who came with her weeping, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled, and said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Master, come and see." Yeshua wept. The Yahudim therefore said, "See how he loved him." And some of them said, "Was this one who opened the eyes of the blind not also able to prevent this one from dying?" Yeshua, therefore, again groaning in himself, came to the tomb. Now it was a cave, and a stone lay against it. Yeshua said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of him who had died, said to him, "Master, already he smells, for it is 4 days." Yeshua said to her, "Did I not say to you that if you believe, you shall see the esteem of Elohim?" So they took away the stone where the dead man was laid. And Yeshua lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me, and I know that you always hear me. But because of the crowd standing by, I said this, in order that they believe that you sent me." And when he had said this, he cried out with a loud voice, "Eleazar, come out." And he who had died came out, bound feet and hands with wrappings, and his face was wrapped with a cloth. Yeshua said to them, "Loosen him and let him go." Therefore many of the Yahudim who had come to Miriam and had seen what Yeshua did believed in him. But some of them went away to the Pharisees and told them what Yeshua did. So the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered a council and said, "What shall we do? Because this man does many signs. If we let him alone like this, they all shall believe in him. And the Romans shall come and take away from us both our place and nation." And one of them, Caiaphas, being high priest that year, said to them, "You know not, neither do you consider that it is better for us that one man die for the people than the entire nation should perish." But he did not say this from himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yeshua was about to die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but to gather together into one the children of Elohim who were scattered abroad. So from that day on they plotted to kill him. Yeshua therefore no longer went openly among the Yahudim, but went from there into the country near the wilderness to a city called Ephraim, and remained there with his taught ones. Now the Pesach of the Yahudim was near, and many went from the country up to Jerusalem before the Pesach to set themselves apart. And so they were seeking Yeshua, and spoke among one another, standing in the set-apart place, "What do you think? Is he not coming to the festival at all?" And both the chief priests and the Pharisees had given a command that if anyone knew where he was, he should disclose it, in order for them to seize him. Chapter 12. Accordingly, Yeshua, 6 days before the Pesach, came to Bethaniah, where Eleazar was, who had died, whom he raised from the dead. So they made him a supper there, and Martha served, while Eleazar was one of those who sat at the table with him. Then Miriam took a pound of costly perfume of nard, anointed the feet of Yeshua, and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. Then one of his taught ones, Yehuda from Kirioth, son of Shimon, who was about to deliver him up, said, "Why was this perfume not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor?" And he said this not because he was concerned about the poor, but because he was a thief and had the bag, and he used to take what was put in it. Yeshua then said, "Let her alone, for she has kept this for the day of my burial. For the poor you have with you always, but me you do not have always." Then a great crowd of the Yahudim learned that he was there, and they came, not on account of Yeshua only, but also to see Eleazar, whom he had raised from the dead. And the chief priests resolved to kill Eleazar as well, because on account of him many of the Yahudim went away and believed in Yeshua. On the next day, a great crowd who had come to the festival, when they heard that Yeshua was coming to Jerusalem, took the branches of palm trees and went out to meet him, and were crying out, "Hoshiana! Blessed is he who is coming in the name of Yahuwah, the sovereign of Yisrael." And Yeshua, having found a young donkey, sat on it, as it has been written, "Do not fear, daughter of Zion. See, your sovereign is coming, sitting on the colt of a donkey." At first his taught ones did not understand this, but when Yeshua was esteemed, then they remembered that this was written about him, that they had done this to him. Therefore the crowd who were with him when he called Eleazar out of his tomb and raised him from the dead were bearing witness. On account of this the crowd also met him, because they heard that he had done this sign. The Pharisees then said among themselves, "You see how you are getting nowhere at all? Look, the world has gone after him." And there were certain Greeks among those coming up to worship at the festival. These then came to Philip, who is from Bethsaida of Galilee, and were asking him, saying, "Master, we wish to see Yeshua." Philip came and told Andre, and in turn Andre and Philip told Yeshua. And Yeshua answered them, saying, "The hour has come for the Son of Adam to be esteemed. Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. He who loves his life shall lose it, and he who hates his life in this world shall preserve it for everlasting life. If anyone serves me, let him follow me, and where I am, there my servant also shall be. If anyone serves me, the Father shall value him. Now I myself am troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? But for this reason I came to this hour. Father, esteem your name. Then a voice came from the heaven. I have both esteemed it and shall esteem it again. So the crowd who stood by and heard it were saying, there had been thunder. Others said, a messenger has spoken to him. Yeshua answered and said, this voice did not come because of me, but for your sake. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world shall be cast out. And I, if I am lifted up from the earth, shall draw all men unto myself. This he said, signifying by what death he was about to die. The crowd answered him, we have heard out of the Torah that the Messiah remains forever. And how do you say the son of Adam has to be lifted up? Who is this son of Adam? Yeshua therefore said to them, yet a little while the light is with you. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. And he who walks in darkness does not know where he is going. While you have the light, believe in the light, so that you become sons of light. These words Yeshua spoke, and went off and was hidden from them. But though he had done so many signs before them, they did not believe in him, that the word of Yeshayahu the prophet might be fulfilled, which he spoke, Yahuwah, who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of Yahuwah been revealed? Because of this, they were unable to believe, because again Yeshayahu said, he has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, so that they should not see with their eyes and understand with their hearts and turn, and I should heal them. Yeshayahu said this when he saw his esteem and spoke of him. Still, even among the rulers, many did believe in him, but because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the congregation, for they loved the praise of men more than the praise of Elohim. Then Yeshua cried out and said, he who believes in me, believes not in me, but in him who sent me. And he who sees me sees him who sent me. I have come as a light into the world, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. And if anyone hears my words, but does not watch over them, I do not judge him, for I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world. He who rejects me and does not receive my words has one who judges him. The word that I have spoken shall judge him in the last day. Because I spoke not from myself, but the Father who sent me has given me a command, what I should say and what I should speak. And I know that his command is everlasting life. Therefore, whatever I speak, as the Father has said to me, so I speak. Chapter 13. And before the festival of the Pesach, Yeshua, knowing that his hour had come, that he should move out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. And supper taking place, the devil having already put it into the heart of Yehuda from Kirioth, son of Shimon, to deliver him up, Yeshua, knowing that the Father had given all into his hands, and that he had come from Elohim and was going to Elohim, rose from supper and laid aside his garments, and having taken a towel, he girded himself. After that he put water into a basin and began to wash the feet of the taught ones, and to wipe them with the towel with which he was girded. And so he came to Shimon Kepha and said to him, Master, do you wash my feet? Yeshua answered and said to him, You do not know what I am doing now, but you shall know after this. Kepha said to him, By no means shall you wash my feet, ever. Yeshua answered him, If I do not wash you, you have no part with me. Shimon Kepha said to him, Master, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Yeshua said to him, He who has a bath does not need to wash except his feet, but is clean altogether. And you are clean, but not all of you. For he knew who would deliver him up. So he said, You are not all clean. So when he had washed their feet and taken his garments and sat down again, he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and master, and you say well, for I am. Then if I, master and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I gave you an example that you should do as I have done to you. Truly I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is an emissary greater than he who sent him. If you know these teachings, blessed are you if you do them. I do not speak concerning all of you. I know whom I have chosen, that the scripture might be filled. He who eats bread with me has lifted up his heel against me. Now I say to you, before it takes place, that when it does take place, you shall believe that I am. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who receives whomever I send receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. When Yeshua said this, he was troubled in spirit and witnessed, and said, Truly, truly, I say to you, one of you shall deliver me up. The taught ones looked at one another, doubting of whom he spoke. And one of his taught ones, whom Yeshua loved, was reclining on the bosom of Yeshua. Shimon Kepha then motioned to him to ask him who it was of whom he spoke. And leaning back on the breast of Yeshua, he said to him, Master, who is it? Yeshua answered, It is he to whom I shall give a piece of bread when I have dipped it. And having dipped the bread, he gave it to Yehuda from Kiriath, son of Shimon. And after the piece of bread, Satan entered into him. Yeshua therefore said to him, What you do quickly. But no one at the table knew why he said this to him, for some were supposing because Yehuda had the bag that Yeshua was saying to him, Buy what we need for the festival, or that he should give somewhat to the poor. So having received the piece of bread, he then went out straight away, and it was night. When therefore he went out, Yeshua said, Now the Son of Adam has been esteemed, and Elohim has been esteemed in him. If Elohim has been esteemed in him, Elohim shall esteem him in himself, and straightway esteem him. Little children, yet a little while I am with you. You shall seek me, as I said to the Yahudim, where I am going you are unable to come. I now also say to you, a renewed command I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this shall all know that you are my taught ones, if you have love for one another. Shimon Kepha said to him, Master, where are we going? Yeshua answered, Where I am going, you are unable to follow me now, but afterwards you shall follow me. Kepha said to him, Master, why am I unable to follow you now? I shall lay down my life for you. Yeshua answered him, Shall you lay down your life for me? Truly, truly, I say to you, the cock shall not crow at all until you have denied me 3 times. Chapter 14. Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in Elohim. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many staying places, and if not, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I shall come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, you might be too. And where I go, you know, and the way you know." Thomas said to him, "Master, we do not know where you are going, and how are we able to know the way?" Yeshua said to him, "I am the way, and the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had known me, you would have known my Father too. From now on you know him and have seen." Philip said to him, "Master, show us the Father, and it is enough for us." Yeshua said to him, "Have I been with you so long, and you have not known me, Philip? He who has seen me has seen the Father. And how do you say, 'Show us the Father'? Do you not believe that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me? The words that I speak to you, I do not speak from myself, but the Father who stays in me does his works. Believe in me, that I am in the Father, and the Father in me. Otherwise believe me because of the works themselves. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he shall do also. And greater works than these he shall do, because I go to my Father. And whatever you ask in my name, that I shall do, in order that the Father might be esteemed in the Son. If you ask whatever in my name, I shall do it. If you love me, you shall guard my commands. And I shall ask the Father, and he shall give you another helper to stay with you forever, the Spirit of the truth, whom the world is unable to receive, because it does not see him or know him. But you know him, for he stays with you and shall be in you. I shall not leave you orphans. I am coming to you. Yet a little while, and the world no longer sees me, but you shall see me, because I live, and you shall live. In that day you shall know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. He who possesses my commands and guards them, it is he who loves me. And he who loves me shall be loved by my Father, and I shall love him and manifest myself to him." Yehuda, not the one from Kirioth, said to him, "Master, what has come about that you are about to manifest yourself to us and not to the world?" Yeshua answered him, "If anyone loves me, he shall guard my word, and my Father shall love him, and we shall come to him and make our stay with him. He who does not love me does not guard my words, and the word which you hear is not mine, but the Father who sent me. These words I have spoken to you while still with you. But the Helper, the set-apart Spirit, whom the Father shall send in my name, he shall teach you all, and remind you of all that I said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. You have heard that I said to you, I am going away and I am coming to you. If you did love me, you would have rejoiced that I said I am going to the Father, for my Father is greater than I. And now I have told you before it takes place, that when it does take place, you shall believe. I shall no longer talk much with you, for the ruler of this world is coming, and he possesses none at all in me. But in order for the world to know that I love the Father, and that as the Father commanded me, so I am doing. Rise up. Let us go from here. Chapter 15. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. Every branch in me that bears no fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, so that it bears more fruit. You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Stay in me, and I stay in you. As the branch is unable to bear fruit of itself unless it stays in the vine, so neither you unless you stay in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who stays in me and I in him, he bears much fruit. Because without me you are able to do naught. If anyone does not stay in me, he is thrown away as a branch and dries up. And they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. If you stay in me and my words stay in you, you shall ask whatever you wish, and it shall be done for you. In this my Father is esteemed, that you bear much fruit, and you shall be my taught ones. As the Father has loved me, I have also loved you. Stay in my love. If you guard my commands, you shall stay in my love, even as I guarded my Father's commands and stay in his love. These words I have spoken to you so that my joy might be in you and that your joy might be complete. This is my command, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, that one should lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do whatever I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not know what his master is doing. But I have called you friends, for all teachings which I heard from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he might give you. These words I command you so that you love one another. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love its own. But because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, for that reason the world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they shall persecute you too. If they have guarded my word, they would guard yours too. But all this they shall do to you because of my name, because they do not know him who sent me. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would have no sin. But now they have no excuse for their sin. He who hates me hates my Father as well. If I did not do among them the works which no one else did, they would have no sin. But now they have both seen and have hated both me and my Father. But that the word might be filled which was written in their Torah, they hated me without a cause. And when the Helper comes, whom I shall send to you from the Father, the Spirit of truth, who comes from the Father, he shall bear witness of me. But you also bear witness, because you have been with me from the beginning. Chapter 16. These words I have spoken to you so that you do not stumble. They shall put you out of the congregations. But an hour is coming when everyone who kills you shall think he is rendering service to Elohim. And this they shall do to you, because they did not know the Father, nor me. But I have said these words to you, so that when the hour comes, you remember that I told them to you. And these words I did not say to you at the beginning, for I was with you. But now I go away to him who sent me, and not one of you asks me, where are you going? But because I have said these words to you, grief has filled your heart. But I say the truth to you, it is better for you that I go away. For if I do not go away, the Helper shall not come to you at all. But if I go, I shall send him to you. And having come, he shall convict the world concerning sin, and concerning righteousness, and concerning judgment, concerning sin, because they do not believe in me, concerning righteousness, because I go to my Father, and you see me no more, concerning judgment, because the ruler of this world is judged. I still have many words to say to you, but you are not able to bear them now. But when he comes, the Spirit of the truth, he shall guide you into all the truth. For he shall not speak from himself, but whatever he hears he shall speak, and he shall announce to you what is to come. He shall esteem me, for he shall take of what is mine and announce it to you. All that the Father has is mine. That is why I said that he takes from what is mine and announces it to you. A little while and you do not see me, and again a little while and you shall see me. Therefore some of his taught ones said to one another, What is this that he says to us? A little while and you do not see me, and again a little while and you shall see me, and because I am going to the Father. So they said, What is this that he says, a little while? We do not know what he is saying. Yeshua therefore knew that they were wishing to ask him, and he said to them, Are you asking one another about what I said? A little while and you do not see me, and again a little while and you shall see me? Truly, truly, I say to you that you shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice, and you shall be grieved, but your grief shall become joy. The woman has grief when she is in labor, because her hour has come. But as soon as she has given birth to the child, she no longer remembers the affliction for joy that a man was born into the world. And you therefore have grief now, but I shall see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and no one takes your joy away from you. And in that day you shall ask me none at all. Truly, truly, I say to you, whatever you ask the Father in my name, he shall give you. Until now you have asked naught in my name. Ask and you shall receive, in order that your joy might be complete. These words I have spoken to you in figures of speech, but an hour is coming when I shall no longer speak to you in figures of speech, but I shall declare the Father plainly to you. In that day you shall ask in my name, and I do not say to you that I shall pray the Father on your behalf, for the Father himself does love you, because you have loved me, and have believed that I came forth from Elohim. I came forth from the Father, and have come into the world. Again I leave the world and go to the Father. His taught one said to him, See, now you are speaking plainly and not using figure of speech. Now we know that you know all, and have no need that anyone should question you. By this we believe that you came forth from Elohim. Yeshua answered them, Do you now believe? See, an hour is coming, and now has come, that you are scattered, each to his own, and leave me alone. Yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These words I have spoken to you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you have pressure, but take courage. I have overcome the world. Chapter 17. Yeshua said these words, and lifted up his eyes to the heaven, and said, Father, the hour has come. Esteem your Son, so that your Son also might esteem you, as you have given him authority over all flesh, so that he should give everlasting life to all whom you have given him. And this is everlasting life, that they should know you, the only true Elohim, and Yeshua Messiah, whom you have sent. I have esteemed you on the earth, having accomplished the work you have given me that I should do. And now esteem me with yourself, Father, with the esteem which I had with you before the world was. I have revealed your name to the men whom you gave me out of the world. They were yours, and you gave them to me, and they have guarded your word. Now they have come to know all that you gave to me is from you, because the words which you gave to me I have given to them, and they have received them, and have truly known that I came forth from you, and they believe that you sent me. I pray for them. I do not pray for the world, but for those whom you have given me, for they are yours. And all mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I have been esteemed in them. And I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to you. Set apart, Father, guard them in your name which you have given me, so that they might be one as we are. When I was with them in the world, I was guarding them in your name which you have given me, and I watched over them, and not one of them perished except the son of destruction, that the scripture might be filled. And now I come to you, and I speak these words in the world, so that they have my joy completed in them. I have given them your word, and the world hated them, because they are not of the world, as I am not of the world. I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the wicked one. They are not of this world, as I am not of the world. Set them apart in your truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I also sent them into the world. And for them I set myself apart, so that they too might be set apart in truth. And I do not pray for these alone, but also for those believing in me through their word, so that they all might be one, as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, so that they too might be one in us, so that the world might believe that you have sent me. In the esteem which you gave me, I have given them, so that they might be one as we are one. I in them, and you in me, so that they might be perfected into one, so that the world knows that you have sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. Father, I desire that those whom you have given me might be with me where I am, so that they see my esteem which you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. O righteous Father, indeed the world did not know you, but I knew you, and these knew that you sent me. And I have made your name known to them, and shall make it known, so that the love with which you have loved me might be in them, and I in them. Chapter 18. Having said these words, Yeshua went out with his taught ones beyond the Kidron torrent, where there was a garden, into which he and his taught ones entered. And Yehuda, who delivered him up, also knew the place, because Yeshua often met there with his taught ones. Yehuda, then, having received the company of soldiers and officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, came there with lanterns and torches and weapons. Yeshua then, knowing all that would come upon him, went forward and said to them, "Whom do you seek?"
"Yeshua of Nazareth."
Yeshua said to them, "I am." And Yehuda, who delivered him up, was also standing with them. When therefore he said to them, "I am," they drew back and fell to the ground. Once more he asked them, "Whom do you seek?" And they said,
"Yeshua of Nazareth."
Yeshua answered and said, "I said to you that I am. If then you seek me, allow these to go, in order that the word might be filled which he spoke. Of those whom you have given me, I have lost none." Then Shimon Kepha, having a sword, drew it out and struck the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. And the servant's name was Melech. Then Yeshua said to Kepha, "Put your sword into the sheath. Shall I not drink the cup which my Father has given me?" Then the company of soldiers and the commander and the officers of the Yahudim seized Yeshua and bound him. And they led him away to Hanan first, for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year. Now Caiaphas was the one who gave counsel to the Yahudim that it was better that one man should die for the people. And Shimon Kepha followed Yeshua with another taught one, and that taught one was known to the high priest, and went with Yeshua into the courtyard of the high priest. But Kepha was standing outside at the door. So the other taught one, who was known to the high priest, went out and spoke to her who kept the door, and brought Kepha in. Then the servant girl who kept the door said to Kepha,
"Are you also one of this man's taught ones?"
He said, "I am not." And the servants and officers who had made a fire of coals stood there, because it was cold, and they warmed themselves. And Kepha was standing with them and warming himself. Then the high priest asked Yeshua about his taught ones and his teaching. Yeshua answered him, "I spoke openly to the world. I always taught in the congregations and in the set-apart place, where the Yahudim always meet, and I spoke no word in secret. Why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me what I said to them. See, they know what I said." And when he said this, one of the officers who stood by slapped Yeshua in the face, saying, "Do you answer the high priest this way?" Yeshua answering him, "If I have spoken evilly, bear witness of the evil, but if well, why do you strike me?" Then Hanan sent him bound to the high priest Caiaphas, and Shimon Kepha was standing warming himself. Then they said to him, "Are you also one of his taught ones?" He denied it and said, "I am not." One of the servants of the high priest, a relative of the one whose ear Kepha cut off, said, "Did I not see you in the garden with him?" Then Kepha again denied it, and immediately a cock crowed. Then they led Yeshua from Caiaphas to the palace, and it was early. And they themselves did not go into the palace, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Pesach. Pilate therefore came out to them and said, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" They answered and said to him, "If he were not an evildoer, we would not have delivered him up to you." Then Pilate said to them, "You take him and judge him according to your law." The Yahudim said to him, "It is not right for us to put anyone to death," in order that the word of Yahuwah might be filled, which he spoke, signifying by what death he was about to die. Then Pilate went back into the palace and called Yeshua and said to him, "Are you the sovereign of the Yahudim?" Yeshua answered him, "Do you say this from yourself, or did others talk to you about me?" Pilate answered, "Am I a Yahudi? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you to me. What did you do?" Yeshua answered, "My reign is not of this world. If my reign were of this world, my servants would fight, so that I should not be delivered to the Yahudim. But now my reign is not from here." Then Pilate said to him, "You are a sovereign then?" Yeshua answered, "You say it. Because I am a sovereign, for this I was born, and for this I have come into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice." Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" And when he said this, he went out again to the Yahudim and said to them, "I find no guilt in him. But you have a habit that I shall release someone to you at the Pesach. Do you wish, then, that I release to you the sovereign of the Yahudim?" Then they all shouted again, saying, "Not this one, but Barabbas." And Barabbas was a robber. Chapter 19. Then, therefore, Pilate took Yeshua and flogged him. And the soldiers plaited a crown of thorns and placed it on his head. And they put a purple robe on him, and came to him and said, "Greetings, sovereign of the Yahudim." And they slapped him in the face. And Pilate went outside again and said to them, "See, I am bringing him out to you, to let you know that I find no guilt in him." Then Yeshua came outside, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate said to them, "See the man." So when the chief priests and officers saw him, they shouted, saying, "Impale! Impale!" Pilate said to them, "You take him and impale him, for I find no guilt in him." The Yahudim answered him, "We have a law, and according to our law he ought to die.
for he has made himself the Son of Elohim."
So when Pilate heard this word, he was more afraid, and went back into the palace and asked Yeshua, "Where are you from?" But Yeshua gave him no answer. Then Pilate said to him, "Do you not speak to me? Do you not know that I possess authority to impale you, and I possess authority to release you?" Yeshua answered, "You would possess no authority against me if it were not given you from above. Because of this, he who delivered me to you has greater sin." From then on, Pilate was seeking to release him. But the Yahudim shouted, saying, "If you release this one, you are not Caesar's friend. Everyone who makes himself a sovereign does speak against Caesar." Therefore, when Pilate heard these words, he brought Yeshua out and sat down in the judgment seat in a place that is called Pavement, but in Hebrew, Gabbatha. And it was the preparation day of the Pesach week. And about the 6th hour he said to the Yahudim, "See your sovereign." But they shouted, "Away! Away! Impale him!" Pilate said to them, "Shall I impale your sovereign?" The chief priests answered, "We have no sovereign except Caesar." At that time, then, he delivered him to them to be impaled. And they took Yeshua and led him away. And bearing his stake, he went out to the so-called place of a skull, which is called in Hebrew Golgotha, where they impaled him, and 2 others with him, one on this side and one on that side, and Yeshua in the middle. And Pilate wrote a title too, and put it on the stake, and it was written, "Yeshua of Nazareth, the sovereign of the Yahudim." Many of the Yahudim therefore read this title, for the place where Yeshua was impaled was near the city, and it was written in Hebrew, in Greek, in Roman. So the chief priests of the Yahudim said to Pilate, "Do not write the sovereign of the Yahudim," but he said, "I am the sovereign of the Yahudim." Pilate answered, "What I have written, I have written." Then the soldiers, when they had impaled Yeshua, took his outer garments and made 4 parts, to each soldier a part, and the inner garment. But the inner garment was without seam, woven from the top in one piece. So they said to each other, "Let us not tear it, but cast lots for it, whose it shall be, in order that the scripture might be fulfilled, which says, 'They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots.'" The soldiers therefore indeed did this, and by the stake of Yeshua stood his mother, and his mother's sister Miriam, the wife of Kolapha, and Miriam from Magdala. Then Yeshua, seeing his mother, and the taught one whom he loved standing by, he said to his mother, "Woman, see your son." Then to the taught one he said, "See your mother." And from that hour the taught one took her to his own home. After this, Yeshua, knowing that all had been accomplished, in order that the scripture might be accomplished, said, "I thirst." A bowl of sour wine stood there, and they filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on hyssop, and held it to his mouth. So when Yeshua took the sour wine, he said, "It has been accomplished." And bowing his head, he gave up his spirit. Therefore, since it was the preparation day, that the body should not remain on the stake on the Sabbath, for that Sabbath was a high one, the Yahudim asked Pilate to have their legs broken, and that they be taken away. Therefore the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first and of the other who was impaled with him. But when they came to Yeshua and saw that he was already dead, They did not break his legs, but one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and instantly blood and water came out. And he who has seen has witnessed, and his witness is true, and he knows that he is speaking the truth in order that you might believe. For this took place in order for the scriptures to be filled. Not one of his bones shall be broken. And again, another scripture says, they shall look on him whom they pierced. And after this, Joseph of Ramathaim, being a taught one of Yeshua, but secretly, for fear of the Yahudim, asked Pilate that he might take the body of Yeshua. And Pilate gave permission. Therefore he came and took the body of Yeshua. And Nicodemus, who at first came to Yeshua by night, also came, bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100 pounds. Then they took the body of Yeshua and bound it in linen wrappings, with the spices, as was the habit of the Yahudim for burial. And at that place where he was impaled, there was a garden, and in the garden a fresh tomb in which no one had yet been laid. There, then, because of the preparation day of the Yahudim, they laid Yeshua, because the tomb was near. Chapter 20. And on day 1 of the week, Miriam from Magdala came early to the tomb while it was still dark, and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So she ran and came to Shimon Kepha and to the other taught one whom Yeshua loved, and said to them, they have taken the master out of the tomb, and we do not know where they laid him. Then Kepha and the other taught one went out, and they were going to the tomb. And the two were running together, but the other taught one outran Kepha and came to the tomb first. And stooping down, he saw the linen wrappings lying, but he did not go in. Then Shimon Kepha came, following him, and went in the tomb, and he saw the linen wrappings lying, and the cloth which had been on his head, not lying with the linen wrappings, but folded up in a place by itself. So then the other taught one, who came to the tomb first, also went in, and he saw and believed. For they did not yet know the scripture, that he has to rise again from the dead. Therefore the taught ones went away again by themselves. But Miriam was standing outside by the tomb, weeping. Then as she wept, she stooped down to the tomb, and saw 2 messengers in white sitting, one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Yeshua had been laid. And they said to her, Woman, why do you weep? She said to them, Because they took away my master, and I do not know where they've laid him. And having said this, she turned around and saw Yeshua standing, but she did not know that it was Yeshua. Yeshua said to her, Woman, why do you weep? Whom do you seek? Thinking he was the gardener, she said to him, Master, if you have carried him away, say to me where you put him, and I shall take him away. Yeshua said to her, Miriam. She turned and said to him, Rabboni, which means teacher. Yeshua said to her, Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father. But go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, and to my Elohim and your Elohim. Miriam from Magdala came, announcing to the taught ones that she had seen the Master, and that he had told her this. When therefore it was evening on that day, day 1 of the week, and when the doors were shut where the taught ones met, for fear of the Yahudim, Yeshua came and stood in the midst of them and said, Peace to you. And having said this, he showed them his hands and his side. The taught ones therefore rejoiced when they saw the Master. Then Yeshua said to them again, Peace to you. As the Father has sent me, I also send you. And having said this, he breathed on them and said to them, "Receive the set-apart Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven them. But if you retain the sins of any, they have been retained." But Thomas, called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Yeshua came. So the other taught ones said to him, "We have seen the Master." But he said to them, "Unless I see in his hands the mark of the nails, and put my finger into the imprint of the nails, and put my hand into his side, I shall by no means believe." And after 8 days his taught ones were again inside, and Thomas with them. Yeshua came, the doors having been shut, and he stood in the midst and said, "Peace to you." Then he said to Thomas, "Bring your finger here, and see my hands, and bring your hand and put it into my side, and do not be unbelieving, but believing." And Thomas answered and said to him, "My Master and my Elohim." Yeshua said to him, "Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and have believed." There were indeed many other signs that Yeshua did in the presence of his taught ones, which are not written in this book. But these have been written so that you believe that Yeshua is the Messiah, the Son of Elohim, and that believing you might possess life in his name. Chapter 21. After this, Yeshua manifested himself again to the taught ones at the Sea of Kinnereth. And he manifested this way: Shimon, Kepha, and Thomas called the twin, and Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, sons of Zabdi, and 2 others of his taught ones were together. Shimon Kepha said to them, "I am going to fish." They said to him, "We are also coming with you." They went out and immediately entered into the boat. And that night they caught none at all. But when it became early morning, Yeshua stood on the beach. However, the taught ones did not know that it was Yeshua. Then Yeshua said to them, "Children, have you any food?" They answered him, "No." And he said to them, "Throw the net on the right side of the boat, and you shall find." So they threw, and they were no longer able to draw it in because of the large number of fish. That taught one whom Yeshua loved then said to Kepha, "It is the Master." Then Shimon Kepha, hearing that it was the Master, put on his outer garment, for he was stripped, and plunged into the sea. And the other taught ones came in the little boat, for they were not far from land, but about 200 cubits, dragging the net with fish. So when they had come to land, they saw a fire of coals there, and fish laid on it, and bread. And Yeshua said to them, "Bring some of the fish which you have now caught." Shimon Kepha went up and dragged the net to land, filled with 153 big fishes. And though there were so many, the net was not broken. Yeshua said to them, "Come, have breakfast." And not one of the taught ones had the courage to ask him, "Who are you?" knowing that it was the Master. Yeshua came and took the bread and gave it to them, and the same with the fish. This was now the 3rd time Yeshua was manifested to his taught ones after he was raised from the dead. When therefore they had eaten breakfast, Yeshua said to Shimon Kepha, "Shimon, son of Yonah, do you love me more than these?" He said to him, "Yes, Master, you know that I love you." He said to him, "Feed my lambs." He said to him again the 2nd time, "Shimon, son of Yonah, do you love me?" He said to him, "Yes, Master, you know that I love you." He said to him, "Shepherd my sheep." He said to him the 3rd time, "Shimon, son of Yonah, do you love me?" Kepha was sad, because he said to him the 3rd time, "Do you love me?"
And he said to him, Master, you know all. You know that I love you. Yeshua said to him, Feed my sheep. Truly, truly, I say to you, when you were younger, you girded yourself and walked where you wished. But when you are old, you shall stretch out your hands, and another shall gird you and bring you where you do not wish. Now this he said, signifying by what death he would esteem Elohim. And having said this, he turned to him, Follow me. And Kepha, turning around, saw the taught one whom Yeshua loved following, who also had leaned on his breast at the supper, and said, Master, who is the one who is delivering you up? Seeing him, Kepha said to Yeshua, But Master, what about this one? Yeshua said to him, If I wish him to remain till I come, what is that to you? You follow me. Therefore this word went out among the brothers that this taught one would not die. However, Yeshua did not say to him that he would not die. But if I desire him to remain until I come, what is that to you? This is the taught one who bears witness about these matters and wrote these matters, and we know that his witness is true. Now there is much else that Yeshua did. If every one of them were written down, I think that the world itself would not contain the written books. Amen.